So this is a first for me, actually doing a review on a film rather than doing something relating to miniatures. So, Spider-Man, the new Spider-Man film. So please do not watch this if you haven't seen it, or if you really want the film to be spoiled. So heavy spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert. Please do not watch this. I repeat, do not watch this if you want it to be spoiled. So you've had your warning. Spider-Man, No Way Home. Straight off the bat, I'm going to say it's the best Tobey Maguire film I have ever seen. I'm not messing, he's in it. But we'll get to that later on. So I really need to start at the beginning before I get tangled up. I've just come back through it, from seeing it. And I am proper hyped. I am stoked. And I think possibly, in my opinion, best Spider-Man film ever. So wasn't a fan of the original Tobey Maguire films at all. But at the time, it's the only Spider-Man we had. Andrew Garfield was a big fan. And then when Tom Holland was announced, I was thinking, who's this youngster? Doesn't look like anybody. But he's cheeky. He's great. Obviously he does his own stunts, we know he's a fantastic person, but I wonder where it was going. You know, he's a fantastic person in real life, he's a pretty good Spider-Man, not tonight at all. Spider-Man isn't my favourite Marvel character, but it's not obviously my least favourite. I went to see it with my boss and one of my work colleagues, and we were like kids. We lost our minds. We thought it was fantastic. So from the very beginning, I thought the Iron Spider suit, the nanotech in Spider-Man, his new suit, I thought was fantastic. Reminded me very much like the comics, because I was a big fan of the comics. So Civil War, the films that you may have seen, was completely different from Civil War, the comics. I was a big fan of the comics, more so than the film. The film's still good, but in the comics, Spider-Man, because it was all about revealing your identity in the comics, Civil War was about the Mutant Registration Act, and Spider-Man at the time was sided with Tony Stark, and he was going to reveal his identity as Peter Parker. Which is very much like the beginning of this film. The whole world finds out that Spider-Man, thanks to Mysterio, is actually Peter Parker. So there was a little bit of a nod to that, because he's wearing the Iron Spider outfit like Tony Stark gave him in Civil War, and it acted very much like in the comics with the mechanical legs. It looked fantastic, it moved really well, the CGI in this film was awesome, the stunts were awesome. And then you quickly started seeing some of the bad guys, because Tom Holland, Peter Parker, he wanted a certain group of people to forget he was Spider-Man, and it was really ruining his life. It was ruining everybody's career choices around him as well. So his girlfriend MJ couldn't get into MIT, for example, just because she knew Spider-Man was Peter Parker. So he wanted to change the spell, which I have to say, MJ is a good tie-in with all the different multiverses, because obviously we expected her to be Mary Jane. She is not Mary Jane. So in this multiverse, she is Michelle Jones, so not Mary Jane. But wonderful actress, really good in the role. And she's set up for life now. I mean, she's done June, she's done this, that alone. Yeah, she's going to put her feet up. She'll be golden for the rest of her life. But great play between Tom Holland and herself. And obviously, everybody knows how they get on in real life. But when the spell goes wrong, and Spider-Man, Peter Parker, is trying to keep a select few remembering who he is. So he's altering the spell. The spell goes horribly wrong, and at first you don't think anything happened, it just collapsed. but it starts bringing every enemy that Spider-Man knows into this multiverse, into this universe. So you start off with Doc Ock. Now it's the original Doc Ock. He doesn't look like he's aged a day. Fantastic acting. Very, very menacing, and they catch him and everything. But when all these villains come into play, Peter is trying to save them, and Aunt May is his conscience, basically, and tries to make sure he does the right thing rather than just sending them back into their own universes. And the fact that Doc Ock actually does get cured, and he does become a good guy, and you actually really do root for him. He's a fantastic villain slash hero, really, in this film. So it's a bit of a different role for him. But when we're talking about roles of the villains, I can't help but really talk about how amazing William Dafoe is. So William Dafoe is perfect as the Green Goblin. He looks crazy. He's got those mad eyes. He's got that mad wide smile. But he's a great actor because in this film he plays Norman Osborn, who's a little bit lost, a little bit scared. And I really do believe he was like that. It almost looks like he's got mental health issues, but as you can imagine why, you've got the Green Goblin in your head. So it just shows how good an actor he is. He's got that crazy wide-eyed kind of look. His mouth, that big William Dafoe smile. He's brilliant as a villain. Brilliant. Would be an incredibly good Joker on the big screen as well. With a smile like that. Fantastic, it really is. Of course, the other villains in the films, we have Electro, which, when he gets powered up, you can see the silhouette of basically his costume in the comics as well, which I thought was a very good tie-in. And you've got the Lizard, and you've got obviously the actors that played them in the previous films as well, Sandman, for example, as well. The villains were good. The villains were good, and they were turned up a little bit more than they were in their original films. So they were more menacing, they were a bit more larger than life, and I thought they did a really, really good role. Now, throughout the film, there's several Easter eggs. And one of the early scenes, when Spider-Man's swinging through the city, I could see a billboard. Just for a split second, and it's the billboard from, because it's great how it ties in all these little Easter eggs, from the Hawkeye series. So if you haven't seen the Hawkeye series at the moment, the very first episode, I'm not going to spoil that for you, but Hawkeye is watching a stage show. It's all about the Avengers, and it's called Rogers. So obviously it's centered around Steve Rogers. And you can see this billboard as he swings through the city in Spider-Man. And you can see that it's from that. So it's a great tie-in, especially brilliant timing for the fact that Hawkeye is out at the moment. Fantastic, really is. So the villains were superb. Now, the villains weren't the only things that get pulled through these rifts in the multiverse. You started getting other Spider-Men. So I was in the cinema, and it was a fantastic experience, my local cinema in the southwest of England. You've got Andrew Garfield coming through a portal. So the crowd went nuts. They thought that was great. Because we've all been a little bit teased. We saw a few pictures around, is it real, is it fake? And when he came through the portal, people were like, whoa, that's pretty amazing. But then another portal opens up and they're like, no, it can't be. It can't be. And it was Tobey Maguire. And everybody started clapping and hollering, and they thought it was great. And I have to say, he looked really good. Like I said, I wasn't a fan of him as Spider-Man. I've never seen any of his other films before. And he always gets a lot of grief online, the old Bully Maguire. People rip the pee at the Spider-Man films he was in. But, excuse me, I have to say he was fantastic in this film. It was a really good bromance between the three of them. Sometimes they didn't have to say things, and they got that little knowing look between them. I bet it was a lot of fun on set. So Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, Tom Holland, they all looked like they were having lots of fun, and it's great to see them together. Of course, each have something different. So obviously, Tobey Maguire, he lost Uncle Ben at the beginning. And great power comes great responsibility was the key line in that film. And it echoed in this film. So obviously, certain things happen in different multiverses that just echo through. The fixed moments in time and space. So, great power comes great responsibility. Aunt May says it as well. Just before she dies. Just like Uncle Ben. So she dies in this film, which was really, really hard hitting. So great action scenes in this film. Great stunts. Real kick-ass moments. And also some real sad moments as well. So Aunt May died, which I did not see coming. I thought it was a very good tie-in from Uncle Ben dying as well. And I thought that was a really good tie-in. Andrew Garfield, in his universe, he lost his girlfriend. He lost Emma Stone, obviously Gwen. And there's a bit of a touching moment when you can see there's a tear in his eye and he's talking about the person he lost. Well, later on in the film, there's a bit when MJ nearly dies in the same manner. Tom Holland's character couldn't save her, couldn't get there in time, and she was falling. And when Andrew Garfield saved her, and it was an echo of, his universe, what happened there, but this time around he managed to save the girl. And it was a really nice moment. It was brilliant. Yeah, he looked like he was about to cry again. But it's good, you can see the dark side of the Spider-Man as well. When they lose somebody, they know they've gone too far. They know they can easily tip over the edge and they could possibly become a villain or not the best hero they could be. And there's obviously sad moments for them, there's angry moments for them. And it isn't just them being cocky Spider-Man. And obviously Tom Holland is the youngest Spider-Man out of the three of them. So it's interesting to see how Tobey Maguire has grown. He is an older Spider-Man. Even Doc Ock mentions it as well. So it's from a different moment in his life. So obviously you got the Tom Holland high school kid, college, trying to go to MIT. And you got a slightly older one with Andrew Garfield, and then you got an older one again. So different moments in their life, different periods in their time after loss and different things like that, which is fantastic. It really does echo throughout the film. And it's brilliant. And of course, who could forget, Doctor Strange is in this film as well. Which, Doctor Strange, there's a few quirky things that I do like about him. There's a snowstorm inside the sanctum. And he's wearing like big furry yak boots. So, the classic Doctor Strange, some quirky moments. So, we'll get back to Doctor Strange in a second. So, you can tell where this film's going to go. This Spider-Man is trying to, or the Spider-Men are trying to save, do the right thing and try to save these bad guys. Because if they just send them back to where they came from before, they all got taken through in the moment that they died. So, Green Goblin got killed by his own glider, and in an instant he brought into this world. Doc Ock was drowned, and instantly got brought into this world, and so on, so on. So they didn't just want to send them back knowing that they're going to die. And the bad guys know they're going to die as well. Of course, they revolt. They don't let themselves be fixed. They want to do it their way. And they don't want to go back, and they certainly don't want to die. But after the revolt is squashed, they actually do fix them. They do the right thing, the Spider-Men. They don't let anger control them. They do help them, despite Aunt May dying, despite being in a really, really low place. They do come back from it, do the right thing, they fix them, and then send them back. So, for example, Doc Ock gets the chip in the back of his neck fixed, and he can control the arms, and the arms don't control him. So that's how he becomes a good guy. So they send them all back, and that was a lovely moment at the end of the film. Or so you would believe. It goes horribly wrong, and rifts start opening up in the sky. All these beings start coming in, and it's destroying the whole of the planet. It's kind of like the same matter can't occupy the space at the same time. So the world is ripping open different tears of reality. Doctor Strange can't fix it. So Peter Parker makes, as in the Tobey Maguire, as in the Tom Holland Peter Parker, can't fix it. So he knows, Doctor Strange, you've got to do the spell all over again. He said, I can't do that. He said, no. Start from the beginning. I'm not going to mess with the spell. This is a whole new, completely different spell. Everyone forgets who I am. Everybody. It's got to be this way. So obviously, MJ will forget him. His best friend will forget him. Doctor Strange, all the Avengers will forget everything he's ever done. They'll just see Spider-Man. They don't know it's Peter Parker. And he's like, you sure you want to do this? Of course he does it. He makes the biggest sacrifice possible. Now at the end of the film, there's a lot of moments where it's sad, the fact that no one knows Peter Parker in this world at all. Of course Aunt May's dead. Happy doesn't know who he is, so he can't look after him. Which presumably means he loses all the Iron Man tech. His girlfriend doesn't know who he is. His best friend doesn't know who he is, so it's quite sad. But you can see that he's really concentrating on being Spider-Man now. And I think he knows it's the right thing to do. It'd be interesting to see in the future films, because there's got to be future films of Spider-Man, right? If he's going to try to get a relationship and a life back, or he's just going to concentrate on being Spider-Man. Because he knows, obviously, if he has someone in his life that can be in potential risk. So when you love someone, you've got to let them go. It's the old cliche. Which is great. So at the end of the film, you know, he's happy for MJ. You don't know if he's going to make a move or not. And he answers a police scanner and he goes out there and he fights crime as he should do. And the Spider-Men go back and all the bad guys go back and everything's restored. Balance has been restored again. So, what's a Marvel film without end of credits? So, even more spoilers, end of credits. So, if you've seen at the end of the Venom film with Carnage in it, Let There Be Carnage, there is an Eddie Brock scene. So, skip this for the next 30 seconds if you haven't seen that film and you don't want that to be spoilers. So this is like spoiler inception. A spoiler within a spoiler. So 3, 2, 1, skip 30 seconds. End of that film. Eddie Brock and Venom are on holiday somewhere and they see on TV Spider-Man. And they get whisked to that dimension and they see Spider-Man and everything like that. So in this film, at the end of the credits, he's at a bar drinking again. In this reality, meaning they've obviously been transported into Tom Holland's reality, and they learn about Thanos and things like that, and then they get sent back to their own dimension because of Doctor Strange. But a tiny bit of Venom stays behind. So, where's that going to lead? Okay, so now you should be back on track for those who didn't want spoilers for the end of Let There Be Carnage. Okay, give it a few seconds. Bink. Back on track. Cool. Right. The second end of credits trailer for another film. We've all been teased. We've seen the rumours. A few things going around about maybe Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange being in their own film. That's true. We see another trailer for it. You see Baron Mordo, who helped Doctor Strange in the Doctor Strange film. He basically thinks Doctor Strange is the biggest threat in the multiverse. For those who are big into the comics and the cartoons, you know Baron Mordo is one of Doctor Strange's biggest adversaries. So we knew he was going to become evil at some stage. And evil's kind of a point of view. So he's not on the same page as Doctor Strange anyway. He's definitely trying to beat Doctor Strange because he thinks he's the biggest threat. And it looks like halfway through the film, it turns out he is the biggest threat. Because if you've seen What If on Disney Plus, the animated show, you know there is a dark Doctor Strange. And you see him in this. So there's a regular Doctor Strange and a dark Doctor Strange, and they battle against each other. So there's several little clips in there. So you see where the Ancient One's temple is. You see Wong again. You obviously see Wanda. So Wanda Maximoff. So Scarlet Witch, and she tries to help Doctor Strange. And she does mention about what happened in WandaVision as well. Are you here to tell me about, or tell me off, or talk to me about what happened? but he isn't. He's there for her help. So it'd be interesting to see where that goes. And it looks like in that clip, they're in the same place as at the end of Loki. So where you see Kang the Conqueror's like a palace, or whatever you want to call it, his sanctum, his version. So it looks like that's in there as well, so that's quite interesting. So, there's a few little cameos throughout the whole film. I didn't pick up many Easter eggs. I'm sure there'll be stuff out on the internet, or people pausing it. For a split second, in the back of a cafe, I thought I saw Stan Lee. And I miss Stan Lee. Yes, we know he's passed away. But would it hurt, really, to put CGI Stan Lee in there? Because unless it was the bit where he got absolutely drunk with Thor, you didn't really see him very much. You just see him for a split second. He didn't even need a talking row. But it was some old dude who looked a little bit like Stan Lee. So for a second, got my hopes up. I was crushed. But what you did see is Daredevil. Now there is a lot of talk about Daredevil at the moment. Now he is indeed, a lot of people have guessed it, he is Spider-Man's lawyer. So near the beginning of the film, you do see Matt Murdock. So you don't see him as Daredevil, you see him as Matt Murdock, who's played by Charlie Cox. So he's a really good actor. I really did enjoy the Daredevil series. I'm not going to say anything about spoiling any other particular franchises that you may be watching. I'm enjoying the fact that everything is intertwined. So different films, different series. I really think at the moment Marvel is on track. They are doing a really good job about tying everything in, and I love that. I love those little Easter eggs. I love those little tie-ins. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was really, really good. So overall, film rating, I would say this is possibly one of the best Spider-Man films ever for anyone that's liked any of the MCU stuff, anyone who likes any of the comic stuff, because my biggest rant in the Marvel Universe is X-Men 3. Big X-Men fan, really, really enjoyed the comics and the cartoons, things like that. X-Men 3 really, really dropped the ball. If you like the film, chances are you're not a big die-hard fan, because there were some big things in that film that shouldn't have happened. And I don't say spoiler alert, the film's been out for ages now, but Professor X shouldn't have flipping died. When Kane gets his powers removed, Juggernaut gets his powers removed, he's not a mutant, so that shouldn't have happened, because the powers that get taken away are only mutant powers. And they didn't mention at all the fact that he is Xavier's stepbrother, nothing like that. So they really did kind of drop the ball, but I like it when it all ties in. So they're doing a really, really good job at the moment. I like the fact that there's the 3 Spider-Men. I like the fact that it's got all the original villains in there. The film is a very, very fun trip. You don't need to see it to know what happens in the next step of Spider-Man. Not really. I mean, we know that the fact that no one knows who he is now, so everything's been restored. He doesn't get that happy ending, doesn't get that girlfriend, and he has lost Aunt May. But it is a great film to watch. It's a very fun film. It is nice to fill in those blanks. And Marvel, you've done a fantastic job, as always. But this is one of the better films. You can make something total trash, and I will always love it. But I have to say, looking beyond that, let's say I'm not a Marvel fan for 2 minutes. Really good film. Visually great. Fantastic artwork, stunts, things like that. As a fan, I really like all the tie-ins, and I think it was really, really smooth. I don't think you messed anything up there. I like the fact that each Spider-Man has something different about them, like a different bad thing that's happened to them in the past, a different trauma. The fact that Tobey Maguire's got the shooters coming out of his wrists, actual skin, his actual arms. The others haven't. They have to develop it, things like that. They've all got their abilities from different ways. It's fantastic. I really do like the tie-ins. And I watched the film, and I was talking to the guys that I went to see it with afterwards, and I can't even remember the first teaser after the end of the credits when I saw the Doctor Strange one, because it just erased my memory. I thought the Doctor Strange teaser was so good, I forgot about Venom. And the Venom one was about 2 minutes of nothing really. apart from the bit where Venom returns back to his own plane of reality, and then a tiny bit of Venom gets left behind. So it begs the question, is there two Venoms? Is it the same brain, same hive, same collective, or is he a different Venom, entirely different? Because it'd be nice to see the Tom Holland Venom suit in future, and it'd be nice to see because obviously Venom is Tom Hardy, but is it also going to be Tom Holland? Who knows? Who knows? I can only speculate. So yeah, really rate this film. I would say 10 out of 10. I'm really buzzing, and hopefully my innate ramblings made sense. Thank you for watching, guys. As always, if you enjoyed it, please press the like button, and please subscribe for more great content. And feel free to put a comment below if you enjoyed this film rambling, because it's the first one I've ever done for the channel. Normally we paint miniatures, terrain, we play games with battle reports, we do product reviews, things like that, but it's the first time ever on this channel I've done a film review, and hopefully it made sense and I'm not just a crazy fan right now. So stay safe, you wonderful people, and catch you on the next video. And remember, with great power comes great responsibility.